everyone, welcome to CRES TV, another Modern Work Summit update with one of the guest speakers that we have at Modern Work Summit. If you haven't checked out Modern Work Summit, go to modernworksummit.com, 23rd, 24th of May. I've been saying that every time, I'm hoping that's right. And we have got Sean Wargo from Avixa. Sean, how are you doing?
Great, Neil. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
So tell us, what do you do at Avixa, and then I guess what do Avixa do for those who have been sleeping in a dark room and just think that you do trade shows and you just do ISE and Infocom? What do you do for the rest of the year?
Sure, that's fair. So I'm Vice President of Market Intelligence at Avixa, which by the title you can see that we are a little bit more than trade shows. We're also perhaps known for education, CTS. Back in about 2018, I came into Avixa to expand and improve upon our market intelligence offerings. So we've got a number of different research series now covering macroeconomics, industry outlook, demand side studies, all that sort of stuff. So it gives us a great portfolio product to kind of look at what's happening in Pro AV, where are the trends, where are the opportunities for integrator, installer, and manufacturer.
And so obviously, hence why we've got you on stage at the Modern Work Summit in Madrid. Now, your session, I wrote it down, the outlook of hybrid work and the role AV has to play in that. So I'm guessing you're just going to be telling us how we can throw kit at the problem and that's going to solve it. It's going to be a short session, right?
Certainly, you've just described Pro AV, right?
There you go.
Throwing some kit at some
big tellies.
Some challenges. That's right. Well, and that is certainly a part of the message that we want to bring is we've all been talking about the return to office, the kind of mix between flexible and in office, which we've called hybrid, for lack of a better term. But yeah, the idea is, where are we in that journey? Obviously, a different story as you look at geographics. So North America versus Europe versus Asia. But at the end of that, it's how does Pro AV as an industry kind of support what's happening at a company level as companies kind of work through how many days of in office, how do they support those that are remote? How do you get equity of experience? Clearly, there is a technology angle to that, right? So it is somewhat about kit and how spaces are equipped to handle it, how offices are configured spatially, all that sort of stuff, how content is managed to kind of allow for collaboration, distribution, that sort of stuff. So that's what we'll talk about in my session. We'll kind of use some macroecon to set the stage of where we are on return to office and or hybrid work, and then get into the opportunity we see for Pro AV, meaning, yes, for manufacturers and distributors for selling and manufacturing product, producing, and then for integrators, kind of what their opportunity is for consulting with companies and then bringing in, installing, integrating technology. So yeah, lots to talk about, heady, extensive topic, but certainly a lot going on there as a big driver for Pro AV.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about video conferencing or Teams and Zoom here. We're talking. You're saying the wider AV. Again, so digital signage, wayfinding, hot desking, all of that equipment, not just webcams and Zoom and Teams devices.
100% true. Yeah, I think conference and collaboration, literally, we would think about perhaps more of the Zoom and Teams integrations. But pre-pandemic, it was about mic arrays, speakers, collaboration displays, whether projection or some sort of video wall. That's all part of it. But what the pandemic really showed is there's tremendous opportunity beyond that. So seeing a lot of opportunity in broadcast type capabilities, streaming. So harnessing
doing this
content
stuff
like we're doing here.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like we're doing right now. Yeah, for sure. So it's companies still wanting to engage with customers, audiences, et cetera, and standing up capability. I know even in our case, right, as Avixa, we have space allocated now for just content capture, green screens, better lighting, better miking, that sort of stuff. I'm not in that room today, but certainly something we have available.
Don't worry, all good.
Thank you.
And you mentioned, so obviously you've got a North American twang. We were talking about twangs in the green room before we press record.
Yes.
But you mentioned North America, EMEA, and Asia Pac. I mean, clearly you're based in North America. But Avixa is an international global company covering the globe. So again, are you seeing, as a teaser, as a hint, do you see that there are differences? Obviously, we're doing Modern Work Summit in Madrid. What are you seeing as a difference between North America and EMEA, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, if you pull back, right, the real estate market and situation is very different across the globe. And so that sets the context for whether and how companies can actually go remote or need to be more in office. what we see in the data certainly is in North America, US particularly, there is a lot more emphasis on remote work. Well, houses trend bigger. There's more space on average. So that's a factor, right? We also have an overbuild, though, on the other hand, of office space. So there's this kind of conflict, you could call it, between how much we have remote work versus bringing them into the offices, of which there are plenty. And then as you go across different parts of the globe, you have other factors like corporate culture, country dynamics about what's just sort of expected about workers and where they are and how much they're in office. So that does differ for sure across the globe too. So I think though, at the end, wherever you are, technology has enabled the possibility of not always just being in an office space. We're able to do so much more remotely. And so even that, being awakened to that from a corporate enterprise perspective, just means that this is a disruptive trend that we'll be accounting for across different parts of the world. And at the end, it's a technology thing. Whether you're in office all the time, most of the time or not, there still will be those times where you're not. And collaborating across geographies means we have to have flexible solutions. We have to have the ability to get people connected in equitable ways, right? And have a good experience in doing that. So yeah. It's a universal trend, yeah.
You talk about workplace. What about the people? Again, have you done any stats between the difference between the Gen Zs, the millennials? They're not really called millennials now. That's kind of an old thing. But they're the millennials are now kind of in the workforce. We were talking about 5-10 years ago. But were you seeing something on the different dynamics of the different ages of user types? From again the more senior people in the organisation. I don't know what the right term is, but down to the kind of younger people coming into the organisation and how they're adopting the technology.
Yeah, so one of the things that's been interesting to look at some of the research out there is there might have been this expectation that the newer employee, let's call them younger generation, millennial, to use the older term, would have been more interested in kind of remote work possibility. They embrace the technology, they sort of get it. But actually what you find is it's somewhat the opposite. So when you have kids, elders to take care of, you have more needs to try to balance. And so your request for, say, a remote work might actually be more than the younger who's actually looking for a social connection. So we've seen this across trade shows too, where we would have thought, the new way of doing business as per millennial and Gen Y or Gen Z, whatever it might be, they'd be like, we just want to stay home. We want to do it from here. We want to have flexibility. No, in fact, they still want to get together, witness concerts, as an example of this that have been really recovering rapidly over the last year. Right. So I think that's the human element, right? There still is that desire. So how do companies play up on that? How do they build that need for social networking kind of into work week? How do they facilitate it through space design? Those are questions being asked, and tech will play a role. Very cool. Yeah.
Okay. And top 3 reasons or top 3 things you're going to cover in your session. Why should people come to Modern Work Summit from you and catch your session? Give us your top 3.
Yeah.
Other than seeing you and me, obviously.
Right. There we go. For sure. Well, I think we covered a couple of this. So it really is, where are we? Where are we on this journey of this kind of remote? Where are we kind of settling out in terms of that hybrid work mode? And then secondarily, what has that meant for how companies are approaching it from a tech perspective, kind of currently? And then last but not least is that long range. Where are we going from here? Are we sort of flatlining, declining because the investments have been made, or is there secondary, tertiary waves yet to come as companies kind of invest again and improve upon? As part of that, is it more of an OpEx story? So those would be the kinds of things that we'll look at in the session.
Very cool. Sean, thank you for joining us on this episode of CRES TV, updating on the Modern Work Summit. I will see you in Madrid, 23rd, 24th, and I'll be introducing you on stage. So look forward to seeing you there. And thank you for joining us on this session.
Great. Thanks for having me, Neil. Look forward to seeing you there.
Very cool. And thank you all for tuning in to this update on the Modern Work Summit here on CRES TV from Crestron. Join us every Thursday, regular updates from us here on the AV, UC, and what's going on in Crestron. Ring the bell, hit subscribe, and do all that good YouTube stuff, and we will catch you on the next one.